I start from the position that a government has nothing to fear from a strong parliament. A strong parliament will make the government raise its game, and that's in the interest both of the government and the country. And I also take the view that in this exercise, the House of Commons and the House of Lords are partners, not rivals, and we should cooperate much more in that joint exercise of holding the government to account. And what I want to touch on is just 3 examples of how the terms of trade have changed during my time in Parliament. The first, I think, was in the 1979 Parliament, when we introduced departmental select committees. Select committees shadowing each government department with powers to call for papers and people, producing nearly always unanimous reports, sometimes very critical of the government, helping them to raise their game. And I think that was also assisted by the televising of Parliament. And quite often now, when you see Parliament televised, it's not the chamber, it's actually one of the select committees. It's helped move the centre of gravity away from the chamber to select committees. So that was the first change, which I think was very much in the interests of the House of Commons. Now that change was done by consent. The next change was in the 1997 Parliament, and this was a change not done by consent. That was the introduction of timetables for every bill, removing the one weapon the House of Commons had left, which was its ability to delay the progress of legislation. That was accompanied by the introduction of deferred divisions. Normally, you vote after you've had the debate. The government found that inconvenient, and so they introduced deferred divisions at a time more convenient for them, usually on a Wednesday afternoon when the House of Commons was full. But to their credit, they also introduced a parallel debating chamber in Westminster Hall. And that meant that the government had a longer frontier to patrol, because there were a whole range of new issues that could be debated in Westminster Hall that would not have normally been debated in the chamber. And the third change that I'd mention is the outcome of the Right Committee, which reported in 2009. Now that put right one of the defects of the Select Committee reforms, in that the government in the 1980s kept the right to nominate the chairman of the Select Committees controlled by the government. Not always, but quite often they gave the chairmanship to a safe pair of hands, somebody who would control the agenda of the Select Committee and make sure it wasn't too awkward for the government. The Right Committee recommended the election by secret ballot by all members of the chairs of the Select Committees. And that meant when there was a contest, the opposition parties would vote for the government candidate that was most likely to cause difficulty for the government. At the same time, we've introduced salaries for chairmen of Select Committees. And that means that the Select Committee chairmen now have an independence and authority that they did not have before. And quite often you'll find that the chairmen of Select Committees are better recognised, better known than many ministers. So an alternative career structure has been developed in the House of Commons, which I think again strengthens it. So those are just 3 examples of the ebb and flow of the change. Just picking up something which Lord Anderson said about the prorogation of Parliament, I'm afraid that's when I resigned from Boris Johnson's government. For me, that was just a step too far, depriving Parliament of the right to sit at a time of crucial negotiations. And we're very grateful to the Supreme Court for their unanimous decision, as David said, to protect the sovereignty of Parliament by declaring that illegal. Just as a footnote, they've now re-established the so-called Modernisation Committee, a select committee unusually chaired by a government minister. And we'll have to see what they get up to, whether they will do what happened in '97, shift power back towards the executive, or whether they'll concentrate on other issues and crucially try to do it by consensus. So that's a snapshot from a grubby politician who's been around for 50 years.